Sometimes like you get into a state where you're like, I don't know how I got this result that I got.
We've all heard enough of everyone's best practices in software development. And today we're here with Sean Taylor to hear about his worst practice. So Sean, please tell us more about yourself and what kind of software you write.
Yeah, so I am the chief scientist at Motif Analytics currently. I've been a data scientist for a long time, so I guess that's not quite like a software engineer, but I do a lot of coding in practice. So I feel like it's a big part of my workflow. I've been a data scientist for about 10 years. Before that, I was a grad student studying social influence and social science. And then before that, I was a software engineer doing like Python web development.
So what is your worst practice?
Yeah, my worst practice is I just feel like every time I'm working in a notebook, it becomes this like sprawling mess of the process I use to get to the answer rather than the answer itself. And it makes you feel so guilty about like not adhering to good software practices while you're doing it. So you're not right. It's like code reuse, like zero. Every single like cutting room floor thing is still there in the notebook when you're done. It feels like a messy room. Like let's say you're building a piece of furniture and every single piece that you tried along the way was all there, all in the room, and someone came in and saw that. That's what it feels like at the end. So there's this like shame that you experience as you're working like that. But I can't figure out another way to do it. Like it seems like the only way to prototype is to like embrace the messiness and like kind of end up with like a bunch of stuff that you can't show anybody ever again.
What do you do at the end? Do you hand it over in this messy form, or do you everything's on the cutting room floor, and then what happens after that?
Well, I guess that it depends. So sometimes the answer is like, oh, there's like a plot in there, and I just show it to people, and then no one ever sees the notebook ever again. And then no one, it feels like I get to escape the feeling of shame for that. It's like they just see the good end product and then everything else. But then sometimes they'll say, "Hey, can you send me that notebook so I can take a look?" And then there's the moment of like, I always liken it to, you ever see the movie Risky Business where he's got to clean up the house before the parents get home? It's like that mad rush and like, okay, like I didn't need that and I didn't need that. Or I make a new notebook and I take pieces that I liked from the one where I got the good result and kind of copy them over one at a time, like verify it all works at the end. But it's like a huge amount of work to hand it off to somebody in a working state from the state that I ended up in from my own set of work. So sometimes like you get into a state where you're like, I don't know how I got this result that I got. And like, which of these cells were the ones that were responsible for this good thing happening. And sometimes it's really simple. It's like, because if you're able to like iterate, you just say like, okay, copy paste this thing that worked and modify it and copy paste it again and modify it a little bit. So then like the last cell sometimes has the full solution and you just kind of like move it over.
Do you ever check your notebooks into source control or somehow have any kind of version control system for them? Or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so there's like I guess I would say like there's a promotion process from like stuff that's just on my hard drive into like stuff that could go into version control. And yeah, usually that's like, if it's going into version control, it's as if I'm handing it off to another human that has to read it. So it's it's the same thing we just talked about, like cleaning it up and documenting everything and making sure it runs end to end without any problems. But on my hard drive, pre-version control, there are like literally hundreds of notebooks that they're poorly named. They're like untitled 17.ipynb. And they're like, they're all just total messes. Some of them are like one cell where I wanted to try some random thing out for like, and then just like, then abandoned it. And then I just start a new one every time. And I guess I think of it like a physical notebook. Like it's okay to just have some scratch paper where you use it and then you kind of flip the page and start again. But once you acknowledge that you're going to throw away probably 95% of what you do, then you spend zero time on aesthetics at all until you feel confident about it.
Thank you so much for coming on and telling us about your worst practice.
Yeah, it's it's a shameful thing to admit, but I guess everybody probably does it. It's just one of those things that maybe I shouldn't feel as ashamed as I do. It's a little cathartic.